Righto legends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing the 2-year review of the PowerPole Move trolling motor. Now before we get into it, you know what to do. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe, it really does help the channel grow. Let's get into it. Rightio, so this morning we are on the very famous Kissimmee chain of lakes. We're doing a fair bit of 2026 prep. So in the 2026 season, we'll be running the PowerPole Move. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I've been running it for 2 years now. I'm not sponsored by PowerPole. They've definitely worked on it before. I've had some great customer service by them, but this isn't a angler sponsored review. If you're a long time listener of the channel, you'll know that I've had a bunch of different models of trolling motor on there, including the brushless motors that are on the market. You might remember last year or a couple of months ago actually, during the St. Lawrence round, I had to change that motor out for a Garmin Force and then switch it back. The motor itself definitely has some strengths and some areas that I think you need to be aware of. Truthfully though, it's an outstanding motor. And I think honestly the things that need to be improved on it aren't really points that will turn someone off buying it, because when you compare it to the other ones on the market, probably still my go-to trolling motor. So by far for me, living down in Florida, the biggest strength, no doubt, is actually its performance within the weed and the grass. This thing will chew through the structure when you need it to put the boat in places that, look, other boats just can't get to. It handles dense vegetation better than any trolling motor I've used. And I particularly notice it on the lower settings. So like that setting 10 through 12 out of 20, you don't always have to jack it up to get out. It's just so efficient at that mid-level torque setting at getting out of structure or getting through vegetation that you can still stay quiet when you're getting through lily pads, which is a real advantage. And that ability to get through vegetation is by far one of the reasons that down here in Florida in particular, I still run it. It's going to get better with the stainless steel prop, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The second thing is the compact nature of the base and the actual unit profile on there. It is really tight and compact. A lot of the other units, you can struggle to get over the top of and look, particularly from the passenger seat. But even as you look at it now with a 360 unit, the Active Target 2 and the cables coming off it, it actually still looks really low profile. Take that stuff off it and it looks really barren. You've got one stainless steel shaft, a steering motor and a base, and that's really about it. In my opinion, it's quality engineering, which means that you can take away a lot of that supportive structure that we historically have on other trolling motors. I really like this unit for that quality. The third one's a quiet operation. Now, big picture, it is definitely the quietest motor on the market. It does make noise. It does make noise, particularly on that, say, setting 15 to 20, which is like a 3/4 up to 20. Realistically, I'm really only running around 10 to 14 most of the time, but when it is up high and you are getting through, say, vegetation, there's no way around noise. And that's particularly because that propeller spinning in the water is usually what creates the noise. So if you're spinning it really fast or generating a lot of torque, a lot of power, there's just no way getting around that noise. There's no way at all. But when you compare that torque setting to the other trolling motors on the market, it is definitely making the least amount of noise, excuse me. So if stealth matters to you, like if you're a bass fisherman hitting those spawning fish on the shallows, or you're a brim or barra guy where fish are starting to spook, the PowerPole Move is probably the best option for you on the market. And if you've got a bit of an engineering mind, you might realize as well, there are a number of byproducts of having a really highly efficient, quiet trolling motor. The first one is definitely the settings that you can run on. You can run much lower than you usually do on other motors, but the other one is your battery life. Even with the lithium batteries that we do have, it's only taking me, after a full tournament day, about 90 minutes, not even that, to charge the 36 volt, 110 amp hour battery that I've got. So that's the engineering and the performance of the motor. Let's talk about how it is to use. Firstly, the spot lock is outstanding. It uses a UAV drone GPS system to position itself. It is really good. Now, you can set it to be less aggressive or more aggressive at holding your position. I find less aggressive means that it won't use the propeller as much and it will drift you around the area, whilst the more aggressive stage actually locks you in. Now, the reason I keep looking left is because there is a gator swimming over to me, just to have a what? Just to say g'day. Switch to this, I'll show you. There he is. See, he's a baby gator. He's probably like 4 foot long, I reckon. Just having a bit of a yarn. Anyway, he started out at the other side over there and he's slowly swimming over. So I'll give you an update on him when he gets closer. Right, so probably the interesting one is the foot pedal. Now, on the app, you can actually change the foot pedal resting position, or the zero position if you like. So if you don't like it at a flat, you can have the normal position at slightly inclined, and that's a small ergonomic thing. The second thing that I probably most enjoyed, and look, it doesn't matter where you sit on the scoping space, PowerPole have got a feature on there that really does help guys like me that do use that technology. If you don't, that's also fine. But typically when you're moving your foot pedal, say this much, your head rotation moves a certain amount that's proportional to the foot pedal movement. Now, basically for say the top 30 degrees on either side, 45 degrees I've got it set to, big movements in the foot pedal only move the needle a small amount. So that allows me to get really accurate with the beam and mean that I can move that foot pedal a little bit larger amounts and only move a small amount. So I can be really precise with where I'm aiming my beam and then presenting the lure. When it gets to about, I don't know, 60 degrees either side, you'll see the motor head then move quite rapidly. And I'm actually only moving the foot pedal the same. I'm going to put a clip over the top here, but I'm actually only moving the foot pedal at a steady rate, but you can see that motor head moves rapidly through some sort of degree offset, and then it moves really slowly through that front portion. This PowerPole move helps you track your targets much better if you are a live scope user. Again, I don't want to weigh in on whether you do or don't like it. It's just a really handy thing to have. But the remote, I think, is actually really nice as well. It integrates really nicely with the PowerPole blades and the poles that I've got down about the 10-foot poles, and I can control, you know, the motor and the blades really well. It's got the reverse function on it as well, which turns the propeller backwards. But like I said in the original review, I'm not a huge fan of that because I'm exposing the rear of the propeller, which is the fragile area, to grind into rocks. So I generally try and use the PowerPole in its traditional way, that is always rotating forward, where the leading edge of the propeller is quite thick and can take a little bit of a beating if I need it to. So in summary, the foot pedal and the remote are really nice to use. On terms of the electronics, I will kind of quickly mention as well, it's got a traditional HDI transducer that comes with it. I think that's a bit of a waste of money because in the last few years I haven't used it at all, not once. But it does give you options if you don't have space for a transducer anywhere else. Right, so here we are 2 years later. Let's talk about the things about the PowerPole Move that I wish were slightly different. So the cable to deploy and stow the trolling motor is probably the one thing that I would change. It is made of a really nice paracord. From an engineering perspective, it's got a high strength rating, it's tensile, it's really good, right? It's really good and reliable piece of equipment. From a practical fisherman's point of view, I can't tell you how many times it's been caught in a treble somehow on my boat, and then it just becomes a mess. The worst case was when that cable went through like 3 different trebles on 3 different rods, and now I have just an absolute bird's nest. There is a reason that I have all my rods down, you know, the driver's side, and the cable exists on that side. Look, it's not a reason enough to not buy the PowerPole Move, but I wish that that cable, that cordage, had a rubber or a plastic sheath around it, and that would go to help stop that issue from happening. And I understand that that's actually what a lot of pros, a lot of boaters do, and that helps with the snagginess of it. So consider that. The second probably point that I want to make, or at least one is to just look out for as a user, is when you're going through heavy, dense cover, or if you put the trolling motor into sand so that it is sitting in sand or dirt, and then try and rotate, it won't rotate to snap the bottom unit. What it will actually do is rotate the top, and then you'll have a misalignment. Now, don't mind, the more I think about it, it's probably good engineering that happens so that you don't snap some of the component in there, but you might end up having the trolling motor actually physically pointing that way, but the motor head telling you you're going that way. When that does happen, you need to stow the motor, realign everything, and then redeploy, and you're good to go. So the third and probably last thing to consider if you are looking at the PowerPole Move to buy is your electronic setup. Unfortunately, this is just something that we have to get over and understand that is a byproduct of using the PowerPole Move. Now, not sure where it is, whether it's in the actual power of the trolling motor down the bottom or whether it's got to do with the titanium shaft, but the frequency it puts out whilst the propeller is spinning does impact your Humminbird 360 image, does gain out the image that I'm receiving back. As soon as I come off it, I get the image back, but as soon as whenever I hit the trolling motor, I do gain out. Now, would I not buy this trolling motor because of that? No, because traditionally I am a Lowrance and Garmin user. But if everything in mine was Humminbird, it may very well be a deal breaker. And look, that's okay. So that is the Where Are We Now 2 years later review. I've given you some strengths there, some comparisons, and some areas that you probably need to be wary of if you're buying the unit. But realistically, again, I think that those are minor. Hopefully you have found these real world points relevant, and as a reward, if you could smash that like and subscribe again, that'll help the channel grow. Thank you very much for doing that. I hope you enjoy the video. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.